Hey you guys, it's Britt. Today we're here to talk about Dad Challenge podcast. There is going to be a trigger warning for this video for SA, sexual assault, and if that is upsetting for you, I totally understand. Please skip the video, catch my next one, or one that I previously uploaded. I totally understand. But if you're in a place where you can listen to this video, please keep watching. All right, you guys. So, yep, we're here to talk about Dad Challenge podcast. If you are a subscriber of his and you are still a supporter, that's totally okay. That's your decision to make. But what I would encourage everybody to do, listen to this with open ears. And if you still come out with the same conclusion, that's okay. But there are just certain things that cannot be ignored. When you have a presence online and when you're speaking to people about topics, sometimes that are really serious in nature, everyone's going to have an opinion about your content. That's one thing. But what's going on with him right now, and the reason that our people are very upset with him, is valid. It is cause for concern. And it needs to be addressed instead of him gaslighting people and them just eating it up. So all that I'm saying is listen with open ears before you want to white knight for someone that would not report an essay, whether or not he's a mandated reporter, and we'll get into that in a minute. There is something called morals. Some of us have them, others don't. I'm not saying that I'm the best example of how to have morals, but I can tell you one thing. If I knew of sexual assault happening in my workplace, I would absolutely make sure that the proper authorities knew about it. I don't give a shit if my job is on the line. I don't give a shit if my pastor said don't say anything. I don't care if my husband or wife said don't say anything. You go with what you feel is morally correct. Josh made his decision to stay quiet and help evidently cover this entire situation up. So the reason that all of this is being talked about is he recently did a video on, it says, the fall of Hillsong, meet the crew responsible for capsizing the most popular evangelical church. His titles are way too long, good Lord. But that is irrelevant. So we're gonna get to the part of this video that he talks about a situation that happened in his church. We all know that he's an ex-pastor. I think that the fact that he is an ex-pastor also has a large part of why people listen to him. He knows how to talk to people. He knows how to get his point across. That can't be refuted. A lot of us with more of a logical viewpoint, you can talk and listen until you can't anymore. And once you see his vile, toxic, gross commentary combined with being a massive hypocrite and now being something much darker than just a hypocrite bully, it's a problem. And that's why people are talking about it. So just as much as he can talk about family vloggers, people are allowed to talk about him. I am so sick and tired of this fucking narrative going around that it's fake outrage and people are mad at Josh for no reason. If it was for no reason, I would still be a supporter of his. But the bad things start piling up, they start adding up, and they keep happening. And I've said for a very long time, once it turns into a pattern, I'm out. I can understand that things fall through the cracks once in a while. Nobody's perfect. But when you have a pattern of being vile, toxic, and cruel, that's where a lot of us step back and say, whoa, what is going on here and why does it keep happening? All right, you guys, so what I'm going to do is let you watch the clip of what his story was. We're going to go over some of the highlights, and then we'll get into his community post and his second video trying to clean the shit up. Before we watch the clip, I want to say he has removed this clip from his YouTube video. To me, that says a lot. Because if you knew that the story that you put out was correct, why did you delete it from your video? Why is there a second video? Why is there a community post? Typically, not all the time, but sometimes when someone is trying to clean their shit up, it's because they know that they exposed themselves for being a piece of shit. So watch the clip and we'll keep it moving.
In the church I just served at, I think about 3 or 4 months before I was fired, could have been a little bit longer than that, there was a youth leader in our church, an adult youth leader, male, okay? Nobody at that church to this day probably knows this, but he essayed a student, okay? Was asked to step down. We sat down at a leadership meeting, okay? Where the lead pastor, no, executive pastor, the guy who was supposed to sell the shit, because then the lead pastor can have, plausible deniability, okay? Where he said, look, this went down in this leadership meeting, told all the staff that this had happened. And if anybody from the media comes and talks to you, you don't say a word. We were threatened. Don't you dare say a word. You ignore it, you send them to me. I'm probably going to do a whistleblow on that. I want to get to the bottom of it, because that was all we ever heard of that, even as a staff. And I'm sure it's happened multiple times at this church, and it has in the past, okay? But why would they not tell people? Because they don't want people to leave, right? That's a secret that so many churches have held onto, Catholic Church, churches in general. So that was one big thing happened, and people who go to my church who are watching this might not know that, but there was a kid, and that happened, and all he was asked to do was step away. That's it. I don't know. I'm sure the police got involved. I'm sure it all did really go down, but nobody knew. Nobody knows to this day what happened, because the church keeps that shit silent. They keep the scandals silent, and churches should never keep scandals silent. Right? Because inherently people that come to church are sinful. And so you have to own that shit and say, look, this happened and this is what we've done about it. But people are like, how did this happen? Because your background checks are shitty or whatever the case may be, right? And so they put all these things in place to mitigate this disaster. But when it happens again, they just keep it secret. They keep it secret. And it should never happen. That's what happened with Hillsong. They kept everything secret. Leadership who knew all about this stuff and keep it secret should all step down.
So in that clip, you heard him say there were 3 big things that I took away from it. The first quote was, that was all we ever heard about that as a staff. The second, that's all he was asked to do is step away. That's it. And the third was, I don't know, I'm sure the police got involved. So that's saying, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I was asked to stay quiet from higher ups, other pastors, executive management, at his church. I was asked to stay quiet, so I did. So therefore, I am an active participant in covering up a sexual assault and making sure that it didn't go outside those doors of the church. Hell, it didn't even go outside the doors of that office. Because he was asked to stay quiet and participate in a cover-up, which he did. He was a willing participant in not following up with the police, not making sure that other people knew this guy is a fucking danger. He is a danger. He needs to be with the authorities. He needs to pay for what he did. This is not something that you do. Now, let's take the pastor role out of it for a second. That's where I go back to, do you have morals? Do you have a strong set of morals? Because if you did, when you hear about something, you tell these other pastors to fuck off. Okay, your job was on the line. I would rather be able to sleep at night knowing that I did not contribute to someone's trauma. Someone who went through a traumatic event, I would want to make sure that the authorities knew. The number one thing that they say is, if you know of sexual assault, domestic violence, sexual violence, if you're made aware of any of these things, you cannot rely on other people to contact the police for you. You are supposed to have that open line of communication. You can report it anonymously. But instead, he washed his hands along with the other pastors, kept it quiet, and continued working at the church, knowing that that church actively participated in a cover-up. Because right here, let's go back to his words. That's all he was asked to do is step away. That's it. I don't know. I'm sure the police got involved. That is I have no fucking clue whatever happened. And I didn't do anything to further the message to the correct authorities to make sure that this individual was held responsible for essaying a child. Now, after people were catching on and using his own words to draw their own conclusions, he put up on his community page, "Hey, I got a few comments about some confusion with a story inside my church. Some people are asking if I covered up an essay. I must not have been clear, but the abuse was absolutely reported to the parents and the authorities. But if we go back, he says, that's all we ever heard about that as a staff was the actual essay. And I don't know, I'm sure the police got involved." You can't be sure of something if right before then you said, "I don't know." You don't know. So how can you be absolutely positive that it was reported? He goes on to say, also, "I wouldn't say names in case the victim and their family didn't want the story out." Josh, this is bullshit. People can put two and two together very quickly, okay? All that it takes is them utilizing the timeline that he provided, the church where he worked, which is very easy to find, and they can start putting stuff together. He should know as well as anyone else that there are so many internet sleuths and armchair detectives on the internet. There for a while, he thought of himself as one, trying to come up with conspiracies about Gabby Petito. People will put two and two together. It wasn't his story to share so that he could have a direct experience with this Hillsong video that he wanted to do. That was not his to share. And on top of it, to share it and not even know what the end result was. But knowing that he did his part by keeping his trap shut when his pastors told him to do so. There are times and moments in life where you have a choice to be quiet or you can have a choice to speak up. And if there is a situation of someone being hurt and having possible and probable trauma for the rest of their life from something that happens, that is not a chance for you to stay silent about it. Anyone with a good set of morals would take that as an opportunity to stand up for the victim that was a child. Remember, this is supposed to be the guy that has just all the best intentions for kids on YouTube and whatever bullshit he's leaning on nowadays. But you have an actual event happen in real life where you could have helped a child that was a victim of SA, and you stayed silent. Your silence is making you a willing participant in a cover-up. That's why people are talking about this. He goes on to say, but rest assured, it was reported, which is why the meeting took place. But the problem is that if you go back to his quotes, "I don't know. I'm sure the police got involved. It was a very much I don't know kind of situation." And he said that's all he was asked to do is step away. That's it. So if you did know what happened and you're so positive, then these sentences would be replaced with, they arrested that piece of shit. You know, he was taken far away from children and people that he could be harming. He was arrested, police got involved. It would have been matter of fact instead of, "I don't know, I'm sure the police got involved." I don't know. You're going off of assumptions. That is making an assumption of what should happen in a case like that. But if you were a participant in playing the silent game, you can't say that you know anything. The meeting was held because the pastors feared the media would get a hold of the story. We were just told to stay silent if the media came around asking questions, which they didn't. But see, this is the black and white kind of personality that Josh has, is in one moment, he wants to say that if a pastor is involved in anything even remotely close to sexually assaulting a member or a child of the church, they need to step down and, absolutely, they should be arrested, all the things. Hold this person accountable. But on the other end, he's saying that his pastors told him to be quiet, now pushing it onto the media side of things. The pastors wanted silence, point blank, period. Now you can try to place blame on saying it was only about the media. But in that clip, you saw how unsure he was of what actually happened. I am looking into whether or not that youth leader was charged or not. After we were told about it, nothing more was ever said or brought up again. Hope that clears it up. P.S. If I ever found out about a pastor abusing a child, you better believe that I would do everything in my power to bring that person down. Then why wouldn't you have gone to the authorities yourself to make sure that the proper authorities knew that you have a bad person in your church? He was complacent, he was silent, and therefore he was a willing participant in making sure that it didn't get outside of that meeting room door. Now we're going to watch the second video that he did about this, clarifying a story from my church.
A few minutes max. About a story I did yesterday in Hillsong and talked about my church. And of course, you know, I said something that people went just bananas. They're going to make all my haters going to make all the videos they can make about it. So I just want to get out ahead so that you guys can hear with my words what actually happened with this meeting at my church. It's actually a pretty big deal. And so let's talk about it real quick. So I said in the Hillsong documentary that we had a meeting.
By the way, this video has 947 likes and 430 dislikes as of filming this video. I think that says a lot. You can't get mad at people for utilizing your own words to come to their own conclusions. This is not something that was taken out of context or some kind of weird conspiracy that people made up. He wants to use this video as an opportunity to say how his haters and his detractors will use this in order to make videos. Josh has zero self-awareness. People are making videos and giving opinions about Josh because he is toxic and problematic, and now he's admitted to being complacent in the tragic situation of a child in his church being sexually assaulted, and he did nothing to make sure that the authorities knew about it.
Meeting at my church, and this is, I was trying to allude to, a lot of churches have these types of meetings because they go down. Whenever there's a scandal inside of a church, they will have a meeting because they don't want the staff to talk to the media about these scandals, right? Like any corporation or anything like that. Modern churches are like corporations. So I don't know if I was not clear. I mean, I guess not, because people were freaking out. I had some comments, and then I got, obviously, you know, a bunch of people making videos because they just can't, they're just oozing with hatred for me, and they just cannot wait to make a video about me. They're like, oh my God, he's a murderer. We got him dead to rights. No, that's not how this went down. So
he's so fucking stupid. This guy really like pisses me off sometimes. Nobody's saying, oh my God, he's a murderer. We got him. We finally got him. People are utilizing his own content to come up with their own conclusions. And if someone happens to have a YouTube channel and share that on their YouTube channel, it is not them saying that he's a murderer. It's saying, hey, Josh said this thing, or Josh put out this video. It's a problem, so we're going to talk about it. He is not excused from criticism. It's constantly rules for thee, not for me. Everyone is, you know, a fucking detractor and they're just hating on me. There's a reason why so many creators have come out with videos about Dad Challenge podcast. It's not because anyone's bored or anyone just randomly decided to hate on Josh. His content and his actions speak for themselves.
the meeting at the church was because the person was already removed from the church, was already reported to police and all the authorities that needed place. People are talking about me being a mandated reporter and all this kind of stuff, and they're making all these allegations against me. It's absolutely not true. So here's how the story went down.
He is a mandated reporter because he was a pastor. But as I said, let's just take the mandated reporter thing out of the situation. This speaks a lot to his morals, his moral compass or lack thereof. Because even if you're not a mandated reporter, if you hear about a situation like that, then as he said in his community post, he would do everything in his power to make sure that the pastor was brought down. But instead, you sat in a fucking conference room with other pastors and you didn't say a word about it once you left that room. You were not sure if the police were called. Now you're sure the police were called. And on top of it, he's utilizing this victim's story for clicks and views. It's disgusting. He's gaslighting his subscribers here. All that you have to do is listen to that clip that I played earlier. That's all that you have to do. Now, if you hear that clip and you hear him and you're just eating up his gaslighting bullshit, then that's your journey, like I said. Let's not ever ignore that the words that you say first spoke for themselves. You can backpedal and you can, try to shift what you were meaning to talk about or what you meant to reference, all that you want. But I'm going off of what he said, and I'm at the point now where when someone shows me who they are, I believe them.
Worship pastor. I'm not a youth pastor. This was not my department. I had no idea about this until the meeting. So the meeting comes down. They say, hey, this guy did this thing. I don't even to this day know what it was. They just said it was inappropriate and it's been dealt with. And they said, rest assured, it's been dealt with. The parents have come in. Everything's kind of, legally.
So when he says, I don't know what happened, I'm assuming he means in detail, but nevertheless, it doesn't matter. If there was SA that happened with a child, where is that energy of making sure that the pastor is taken down?
Been taken care of, because the churches, if anything, want to make sure that they're legally taken care of just for every reason. So we trusted our pastor. We said, okay, sounds good. Looks like you have everything under control. But then he said at the end of the meeting, he said, and if the media comes to you guys, you do not say anything. You come to us with anything that if the media asks you any questions. Because any church, especially a church of my size in any town, if a scandal goes down, it's going to be reported.
Fuck the media. This whole media spotlight that he's trying to focus on, I don't even care about that anymore. We're talking about someone who is supposed to care so much about children, walked out of a conference room with fellow pastors and kept his trap shut when he knew that he could have gone to the authorities anonymously and said, I want to make sure y'all know about this. There is a creepy youth pastor in my church and y'all need to look into his ass. If you're that scared to lose your job for having a moral compass, do it anonymously. You cannot rely on other people to report for you, period.
And to this day, it wasn't reported, likely because it was solved. I was not aware of an SA and didn't report or anything like that. As far as I'm aware, I don't know what happened after it got reported. I'm hoping the guy's in jail or whatever the case may be. I wonder if the parents pressed charges. And I also wonder if the parents asked the pastors of the church to keep it quiet, because a lot of victims don't want their stories out in the world, which I will never do. I'll never put this person's story out. I don't even know the person. And so partly that is the reason the pastor said, hey, look, it's not your business to put this child's story out to the world. And so that's kind of where we were. And it makes sense, right? If we wanted to honor the parents and the victims' wishes to say, you don't just go tell them. If you work at a place and something happens, you don't go just tell the media. And if the media comes talking to us, we were told to talk to the pastors. They never did talk to me.
But you did put their story out. You just haven't said their name. But you said the period of time when it happened. Everyone knows what church he worked at. Internet sleuths. Give them an hour and an internet connection and they will find out everything that there is to know about a situation.
Just want to get ahead of it because I know that every single person that hates me is going to make a video this long about it and how I'm the worst person on earth. But I want to let you know, guys, that it was taken care of. But I want to let you know that there is not an outstanding SA. It's not something I knew that nobody else knew, nothing like that. I still to this day don't know really what happened except for that one meeting in that room. So
fuck the media. We're talking about authorities, proper authorities. Not the magazine, not the newspaper, not the media. He's really trying to focus on the media here so that people will focus on that instead of police and actual victim advocacy organizations, the people that actually should have received this information. But what he's doing is expecting subscribers to say, oh yeah, the media, the media, the media. Nobody cares about the media. We get it. Media, uses drama for clicks and views, kind of like Josh does. But what we're talking about here are the proper authorities. Saying that you didn't know if it was reported to them, then you're saying that you are.
I hope that clarifies everything. It probably won't for all of you who really hate me, but that's okay. I just wanted to make sure that was clear because I made a community post and I want to make sure everybody sees it because I think you're owed that. So thanks for watching Dad Jones Podcast.
So he doesn't know what happened, but he does know what happened. I'll tell you guys this. Typically, when someone's story doesn't make a whole lot of sense, it's for a reason. And I think that that's what we're seeing here. His story is all over the place and he's constantly contradicting himself. He said one thing in the first video, then he's saying something else in the community post, then he's saying something else in this second video that he did. When you're telling the truth, I just said this in a video recently, when you're telling the truth, it's easy to stick to your story because it flows, because you're going off events that actually happened. When things are very jumbled and they're not adding up and they don't make a whole lot of sense, it's usually because there are half-truths and possible lies allegedly sprinkled throughout this narration of the story. And people that are in the comments section of this video excusing him not going to the authorities, y'all need to check your own moral compass. Maybe the moral compass is disintegrating with some of these people, and that's why they're able to side with someone like Josh. But at this point in time, there is absolutely no reason for anyone to be gaslit by him. And as I said, I understand that it's a very touchy subject. I get that, you know, there's a lot of emotions involved around finding out that, you know, someone has been sexually assaulted. It's a very sensitive, it's very triggering, it's traumatic, it's all of the bad things. But as I said before, you don't rely on someone else to do the right thing. You do the right thing yourself because you're supposed to be the dad of YouTube. That shit went in the trash a long time ago. But I'm just using it as an example of this guy who sits in his basement acting like he knows all of the answers. He is the best dad. He is the best commentary channel. He is the best person with the best production, you know, quality on YouTube. Everyone else is just a hater and a detractor. The fact of the matter is that in his original video, he told the truth. He realized that people caught on to it, called his ass out, and that's why these subsequent video and post came out. But when someone tells you who they are, you believe them. And because of what he said, in my opinion, Josh is someone who has no backbone, no morals, and is here to gaslight the shit out of anyone that will listen to him. So he is still very much like a pastor in a lot of ways. And like I said, if you're going to believe it, that's fine. But I'm also not here to listen to other people say, oh, well, you're wrong. You're digging for something that's not there. I know exactly what I heard and it makes me sick to my stomach. I think that Dad Challenge Podcast is a spineless, money-hungry exploiter of anything that will line his own pockets. So please tell me what you think down below. For now, if you like the video, please leave a like and a comment. And if you'd like to see more from me in the future, please subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.